Then I'm ready to go.
Cool. Hi guys, I hope you are all well. We are live and we are doing our deadline stream. I'm joined today for once on my deadline stream by David MUNDAY. We came in a little premature there, but I hope you're all good. I am aware that Scout was streaming. We didn't realise that was happening at the point, so sorry, bear with us on that, and hopefully you know, if you're not catching us now, you can catch them, you can catch us later, and vice versa. So yeah, all good. I think this is mainly, oh thank you, new subscriber, FPL Polish, welcome to the Nim fam. I hope you're good. So yeah, I thought we would just use the stream basically to talk about, well, my team, but also David's team, and also if you want some questions answered, then do check them in the chat, because that's what myself and David usually do on the channel. So you know, if you have any questions, then just let us know. We'll do our best to answer them for you all. David, would you like to talk us through, if I pull up your team, hopefully it's done that for us. And would you like to just talk us through your team, buddy, and how you got on in game week 24, which was only just last night, wasn't it? Mad.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, really. I completely forgot that I was doing this in a week where I forgot the deadline, which is really embarrassing.
Oh wow!
I thought it was 6:30.
Wowzers! The great David forgot a deadline.
I know, it's the first time I forgot one in like 6 years, and like. Yeah, it threw me because I thought it was 6:30. I knew it was evening games, and then I get there like 6:18 p.m. I missed it. But I'm not the only one. Magnus Carlsen missed it as well. So
yes, he did.
I'm in sort of like, I don't want to say fine company,
no,
because I don't want to act like I'm fine company, but like I wasn't the only one. And so then that's why I still have a Dennis captain, which is just horrendously embarrassing, because I had 2 free transfers as well. The thing I'm most annoyed about is actually not missing it, but the fact that I saved 2 free transfers and they didn't use either of them. So then I've like just wasted a transfer when I desperately want to get rid of both of Dennis and King. Just so fed up with them. And then of course I ended up captaining Dennis. I don't know who I would have captained in the end, to be honest. And it probably would have maybe been Bowen. It wouldn't have been Jota. At least I owned him.
Yeah.
So yeah. Honestly, horrendously embarrassing, especially now that I'm having to explain that on a stream rather than hide from Twitter, which is what I did. I just didn't go on Twitter for several days. I was like, people are going to abuse me for this.
Hide. Yeah, Nobody will know. Nobody will know. Okay, well, what's the plan ahead of game week 25 currently?
So, I mean, it's going to be, I've got to get a United representative, and I think it's probably going to be Fernandes. I would love to have De Bruyne as well, but I don't really want to get rid of Salah, because I've held Salah throughout the whole of AFCON. And maybe it's sunk cost fallacy. I've held him this long, so I'm not going to get rid of him to get De Bruyne or Fernandes. I just feel like I just think he's going to come, when he starts games, he's going to come back with a bang, and I want to reward myself for holding him without having to take a load of hits and stuff. I mean, De Bruyne is making life difficult, but obviously, on the balance of the next couple of weeks, you've got Liverpool with their double in 26 with Norwich and Leeds, which is just beautiful. I'm going to need Salah for that. Then Man United's double, Southampton and Brighton. While Brighton aren't exactly, they're not going to roll over, Fernandes has had a decent-ish record against both of these teams. So, like, Fernandes just looks like a fantastic shout for this week.
Yeah.
So when you think about captaincy, this week has got to be Fernandes, in my opinion, even if De Bruyne is playing Norwich. And next week has to be Salah. So they're the two I need to have. The only slight issue I've got is just how I get to Fernandes. It's probably going to have to be Jota. I want to hold Maddison for Leicester's upcoming doubles, but then of course Jota has the double as well. So it's really tricky. How I'm going to get to him, I'm not entirely sure. It's probably going to have to involve selling Kane. But yeah, the handy thing is, it's not a Friday night deadline. It's not 6:15 p.m.
No.
It's 11 a.m. on a Saturday. It's a normal deadline. So I've got time between now and then to work out exactly how I'll make it work for my team. So
Yeah, you've got a bit of time yet, and hopefully you won't forget this time.
if I forget the next one, then I should quit. I mean, I surely can't forget an 11 a.m. on a Saturday one.
Wow. Yeah. Too many beers tonight, and then a sleep-in hangover in the morning potentially. Welcome to Nathan. Welcome Tiger. Welcome Focus. You've left your team screenshot on my latest Twitter post. Okay, cool. I'll catch that in a second. Nathan said he forgot to update both his fan teams as well. My fan team is doing awful. Like I was doing so well at the start, and then I like fell off a cliff. I think FPL Focus in the chat's doing really well on fan team. However, Sky, I'm doing a little better. I'm like 564th or 7th or something like that. Like, so doing all right in Sky, and it's my first season, so you know, pretty happy about that. But I'll just talk you through where I'm at, because I'd love to get your opinion on this, David, because I'm really wavering on what to do this week. So currently this is like my team. I'll just actually pull up like my pick team, because that's probably easier to see, I would have hoped, on screen. To pull it over a little bit. But yeah, this is my team currently. So I got De Bruyne in last game week for a -4 and captained him. I got 78 points for my game week, so 74 the -4. I already had Bruno from the week before, so I've had him 2 game weeks now, and he's done absolutely nothing for me. But I'm pretty happy. It's a green arrow, around 124,000. There we go. Get with it. And it's not bad. I mean, I've been trying to edge into that 100k now for like ever, like forever. So I have a couple of options. I'm going to pull us over to the other screen, because I have a couple of options on where to go with this now. Of course, the big question is whether this week to go for Salah or keep KDB another week. So this is the big kind of decision, I think, for myself. And if I just pull up this screenshot, this is from the FPL Way website. It's a planning website, so you can plan ahead. It's really good, guys. It allows you to save every game week, you know, as if you were doing it in FPL. Uses all the same functionality and filtering as FPL, and also allows you to take some notes on the game week as well. So, you know, if you've been using FPL team, it's very similar to that, only it's like way more upgraded to that. You know, you can save your teams, and that's really good, because in my case, like if I think, oh, hang on, I want to change something in that week, I'll flip back here, and you just can't do that on some of the other planners. So it's been really helpful to me. It's not out just yet, so this is a this is a VIP preview. And yeah, I've been allowed to have a little play with it whilst I was testing, and they allowed me to kind of show you guys today. So yeah, make sure you go and check them out. They're good friends, you know, there's no association. You know, I'm not affiliated by them. They're just good friends, and you know, what they've done, I really like. So my plan, as it were, of last week, for those that, well, last Tuesday, or Tuesday gone. Those of you that joined the stream will know that I was going to get KDB in. And then the plan was to captain Fernandez, bring De Gea back. Well, actually, I ended up playing him because I did have Ramsdale. Oh, so annoying. Switched him last second, David. Had Ramsdale in all week, and then switched him to De Gea last minute. I should have missed the deadline.
Missing
I
the
should have
deadline
done.
is the new not missing the deadline. So.
Yeah, exactly. So De Gea would be in, Trent, Cancelo, Dawson, De Bruyne, vice captain, Jota, Bowen, Fernandez, captain, Trossard comes in off of my bench, Antonio and Dennis, and then it would be King, I would have King on my bench, and I'd have Kilman and Livramento on my bench. So that would be the team this week. Then I would roll, and I would have 2 free transfers for double game week 26. I would pull Ramsdale back in for his double. I'd have Trent, obviously, for his double, Kilman for his double, and then I would switch out De Bruyne and Bruno for Salah and Son, alongside Bowen and Jota. And I would have King and Antonio and Dennis up top. However, I could also do Kane in that particular instance. I would be 1 double player down, but if I didn't want to go Son, I could switch Dennis or Antonio up to Kane and then move Bruno down to Ramsey, you know. So I have the flexibility of deciding in those moves whether I want to go Kane or Son. It's exactly the same in this second setup. So the bottom 2 teams are 25 and 26 again next to each other. And it's really about, do I take a -4 this week and get Salah back in effectively for KDB and really kind of err on the bet that I've banked 14 points from KDB as my captain, if we kind of factor in that it cost me -4 last week for him and now it's going to cost me -4 this week for him, I would bank his 14 points and then get back on Salah, because the one thing about Salah is his percentage owned is just crazy. So if he does anything, it's really, really going to hurt. This then leaves me with, I have 0.1 that I need to find. Now, in my other draft, I had Weghorst coming in as part of the transfers in order to kind of free up a bit cash. But I don't know if I want to sell both De Bruyne and Antonio with such good fixtures. So De Bruyne with Norwich and Antonio against Leicester, who we all know is absolutely terrible at the back at the moment, for basically 2 players that are going to play against each other for a hit. So Salah against Weghorst, or the tall man, as Fergie calls him. That's much easier. So yeah, but if I did that, I then would have an extra double this week, because I could get, I could go that way. Or instead of selling Antonio this week, I could sell Dawson and get Webster, which would free up the extra 0.1, but would also get me a extra double game week player, ahead of Brighton's double. And it could be Dalot, but of course I already have De Gea, so I'm not sure if I want to do the whole United double up. Plus I just quite like Brighton's fixtures going forward. They're not bad. And then so that would be a -4 this week, getting in Salah and Webster for Dawson and De Bruyne. And then next game week, potentially another -4, although I could just move Fernandes onto Son and not do anything else if I wanted not to take a hit. But if I really wanted to chase the double a bit further, I could get Weghorst in for Antonio, along with Son or Kane and somebody with a double game week for that -4. And then after that, obviously I can really look to explore whether I want a wild card and all of those sorts of things. So that's why I've only really planned these 2 game weeks. But David, I would love to hear, your thoughts on whether to keep KDB, really mainly, whether to go Salah. Now, I've heard, I think Salah's record against Burnley is pretty bad. And De Bruyne's record against Norwich is pretty good. But it's all a bit of a case of Champions League. What's your thoughts?
Yeah,
lay it on me.
Yeah, I mean, I hate it when you have so many options, as in, I feel your pain. Like, there's so many different things you could do, and making decisions between all these different things is really hard. I think my gut would be not to get rid of KDB. I mean, it's really hard to second guess Pep right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if we're just looking at the fixture purely in isolation, let's forget rotation for a second and then we'll come on to that. If you knew they were both going to start, and then KDB, holding KDB is like, in my opinion, kind of easy because you look at, I've got the last 10 game weeks up here just for like how well defenses are performing using Fantasy Football Scouts members area, which is really, really good. In that particular period, Norwich have conceded 94 shots in the box, which is the third worst in the league. Funnily enough, worse for that is West Ham with 99. So definitely get rid of Dawson, please. I beg, bin him off. Every time I've been on one of these, I think I've done maybe 4 of these with you now. I'm pretty sure every single time.
Just keep telling me to sell Dawson every single time.
Anyone who has questions comes in like, oh, should I get rid of Dawson? Yes.
He got me a clean sheet this week, buddy.
Well, no, I know, but they just defensively, I just don't think that they're cut out for you to be spending that kind of money on Dawson. So on the whole, Dawson to Webster, I mean, yeah, do that if you can. So yeah, because Brighton with the doubles, then of course, like defensively, they're just way better than West Ham. In that same period, 73 shots in the box conceded. That's the 6th best compared to West Ham being the absolute worst. So getting in on that defense is not too bad. Cucurella probably worth considering as well, just because he's actually played 100% of the games that he's been available for this season. So he's a little bit more, but obviously he's fullback. But you don't have to worry about like the Potter, like roulette, tombola, whatever it is for him. I don't know what his one's called.
We did say one, didn't we? And I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I'll have to come up with one. I'll bring it back next time. The Potter something. The Potter shuffle, something like that. So yeah, he's a decent shout as well. And then sorry, I was talking about Norwich, wasn't I? Yeah, Norwich is third worst for the shots in the box, and then Burnley are also in the bottom 5, but still better than Norwich. And the thing about the two teams is when you consider the quality of the chances they concede, because like I said, they're kind of in a similar part of the table for shots in the box conceded, but then when you sort by big chances, like they're in completely different parts of it. So Norwich have conceded 19 big chances in that 10 game week period. I haven't played 10 games. Burnley, I've only played 9 in that time, but have still only conceded 12. So there's a difference of about 7. And when it comes to big chances, like that's actually quite sizable. Burnley are the type of team that will allow shots in the box, but they make sure that those shots in the box, they just have a better ability to make sure those shots are of low quality, because they tend to pack the box quite nicely and defend with people at arm's length, whereas you couldn't really say the same about Norwich. I think that De Bruyne and Salah have similar point scoring potential in and of themselves individually, but the fixture for Man City is just much nicer. The Champions League thing, that obviously is a big consideration, and annoyingly I think it's just going to have to be a bit of a gamble, in the sense that we're never going to find out from Pep in a press conference, like is De Bruyne going to play, is he not going to play? You are going
why not, damn it.
I know it would be nice if he could like be a bit more forthcoming, but
it really would.
I guess without wanting to sound too sort of like like a PR man, scouts predicted teams are normally pretty good. Neil does those, and in my opinion, he's the best team news person on FPL Twitter. He's fantastic. His ability to correctly predict a Man City team is kind of uncanny because he does it like as a full-time job. He can just sort of sit there, and when most people are at work, like doing like forward planning in some meeting or something, he's going over, because it is his job, he's going over every Man City team for the last 2 years with looking at which types of players play which games, how often does he pull De Bruyne out of the team in situations like this one, for example. So I would definitely have a look at that. But as much as I love Neil and the work that he does, the point is you're still going to have to make a decision based off someone's opinion. And that's really annoying. So all I can say is I'd love to be able to provide an answer to this, but it's a risk either way. If you get rid of De Bruyne and he starts the game, he is probably going to get a big haul, and you just sold him. Do you
think that they will, though? Because I don't think Norwich are as much of the whipping boys as they have been of I guess, but it's Man City. Yeah, true.
And so then my general policy when it comes to transfers, because I will always say transfers are precious, so use them like wisely. And if you can think of any reason not to sell a guy, don't sell him. Because you could use that transfer somewhere else to make a bigger improvement.
Okay.
And so I would just find it so hard to sell De Bruyne ahead of Norwich. I really would. And that's not me saying he's
Even for
definitely going to start.
Salah, though, that I
But
don't
it's
think I'd
Burnley.
consider it for anyone else other than Salah.
I guess. I mean, it just depends. It depends how brave you want to be. That's what I mean. Like, this is one of those ethereal questions where there isn't really a right or wrong answer. It kind of comes down to what you are as a fantasy manager. If you're the type of manager that's willing to take a risk on a player starting or not starting or whatever, then like go with De Bruyne. If you're the type of manager that could cope, like if you could cope with sort of the benefit of hindsight, De Bruyne hauling, Salah not hauling, but at the very least you protected yourself against a massive haul. If he did haul and you didn't have him, then go get Salah. I think the only important thing is, the only thing I can say that is the right and wrong answer for the next couple of weeks is that as long as you've got Fernandes in place for this one, and you've got Salah in place for the next one when he's got a double, that's cut and dry. That's the way you should go. It's just the timing of when you get Salah in, I think, just depends on what type of manager you are, because in terms of what you're relying on, there's just so many variables you can't control or even get an accurate fix on. I mean, we haven't even talked about Salah in terms of, is he still going to be operating at a fantastic level that he was pre-AFCON, post-AFCON? You know, we haven't. I mean, he played quite well as a substitute against Leicester, but
I think that's what's scaring me, is that I didn't actually watch it, but so many people are reporting, oh, he hit the bar, oh, you know, he was just wide of the post, all those sorts of things. Everyone's saying, oh, he looks really kind of on it and raring to go, and really wants to get that golden boot and be right up there. And I think that is kind of, I came off of the back of hearing all of that on social media, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that's scary. Because if Salah is back to Salah and he's only just missed a couple of chances in 20 minutes or whatever it was he was on the pitch, then Lord help me in the next match. Because we all know his record against Burnley isn't great, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the case this particular time around.
That particular stat, I think, is a bit of a misleading one for people.
Yeah.
I used to live by it. I don't know why. I really did. Like back in the old days, I remember I started one season where Rooney was playing Spurs, Villa, West Ham, Newcastle, like his first 4 fixtures or something. And those were like the 4 clubs he had done the best against in his career.
Yeah.
Like over a period of however long, decades probably. I mean, we're talking like this season was like 5-6 years ago. They were his first 4. He got an assist in the first match and didn't get anything in the other 3. Because when you think about that data, it's almost the definition of outdated data, because it doesn't really matter if he scored a goal at Turf Moor 5 years ago or 4 years ago or didn't or whatever, because it's just, there's too many things have changed since then. Even if the same 11 players lined up for both teams, you know, like Jota's got better. Mane isn't quite as prolific as he was before. You know, Van Dijk is, I would say, not as an assured defender now as he was back then. Like, just like every player has gone through so many different variables that basically, whenever I see people talking about this player's record against this club, I don't really give it as much credence as things like, for example, in Salah's last 4 in the Premier League, you know, he's had 8 shots on target, more than any other player. You know, like that is more relevant data than whether or not Salah scored at Turf Moor in 2018, basically. So, whilst that doesn't necessarily mean Salah's going to bang, I just think his record against Burnley, just ignore that and look at what he's done recently. That'll give you a stronger indicator of whether or not he's in form. Because basically, if a player is in fantastic form against most of the teams he's played recently, it doesn't really matter what team he's going to play next. If he's in good form, he's in good form.
Yeah.
If he's world class, he can do it against anyone. So, yeah, I feel like I've answered this question like such a politician. I've talked about so many different things. I haven't actually said, you must do this, you must not do that.
No, I love to get your opinion, though. I think it is a tough one. MH has said, if you wildcard, you can have Bruno and Salah. I mean, the thing is, I can have Bruno and Salah right now if I want them. It's just going to be a -4.
Get those 2 and De Bruyne. But it's just whether or not that would work. I mean, I haven't tried it. I don't know. But
I think I'd be struggling potentially with funds. In fact, I could probably pop over to the other screen and we could give it a try. But I don't. I mean, the thing is, I'm really trying to get you know, over this sort of situation where I'd quite like to be kind of game week 27 plus before I wildcard, I think. Know where I am with the FA Cups and all of that jazz. And I just think that'll be a massive, I just don't see how I do it without selling somebody like Jota. And I don't really want to sell Jota because I've been a big advocate of his this season.
He's got the double as well. Although, I mean, the other thing we haven't really talked about in terms of the impact on Liverpool players is just long term a little bit, I suppose, is Diaz. Because I've got to be honest, so I didn't watch all of the game. In typical, I don't work for FFS anymore. That game was on, and at halftime, the online food delivery arrived, and I was tasked with emptying the fridge and throwing all this stuff in because it's my daughter's birthday party tomorrow. So rather than watch the second half of the game, that was what I was doing. So all I can say is from what I saw of the first half is that Diaz looked really lively, and I hate that expression because that doesn't necessarily mean FPL points, but I was impressed with the way that he played, and it will be really interesting to see what that's going to mean for Liverpool's front line kind of moving forward, because he played on the left. Obviously, Mane is away at the moment, you know, celebrating winning the tournament, scoring the winning penalty, of course, which is amazing. But but you know what's going to happen. Well, I don't actually know when Mane's back, so don't take me as no authority on that. But obviously, we've got a double, so potentially Mane sort of comes back into the side, possibly for the second of those, maybe the first one. I don't know. We'll have to listen to see what Klopp's got to say. But the point is, there's so many options in that attack now, and I'm not, by the way, saying anything about Salah's going to lose his place to Mane or to Diaz. It's just that front line has been very settled for a long time. Mm-hmm. And of course, there can only be good things long term about Diaz coming in and being an additional outlet. But how's he gonna play off Salah? You know, for a long time, Salah and Mane didn't really work very well together because they didn't want to pass to each other. For example, like what's the dynamic going to be between Diaz and that attack? Is Diaz going to be a really selfish player? Is he going to lose possession a lot on the left hand side? Is that going to mean that Salah doesn't get as much of the ball because where Mane would traditionally square it, for example, to Jota or Firmino or whatever, and then the ball gets moved on to Salah? You know, like there's a new figure coming in who they are going to use a lot. How that impacts the front line is going to be interesting. So just in that context of Jota, what you're going to do with him. Like I'm already feeling like I might sell him, even though he scored those two goals last night, because again, like long term, that attack is going to have Firmino, Jota, Salah, Mane, and Diaz. How often are we going to see Jota start games in there? Who knows? Who, like, the answer? I'm not saying I have the answer. The point is we don't know yet. Yeah. And I hate that. I hate the whole we don't know yet. And normally the players who have we don't know the answer to that question yet, are normally the ones they don't own or sell or whatever. So, it's a tricky one.
While you were talking there, I did just mock up a wild card. So the main issue I think here is that I would have to take some funds from Ramsdale and De Gea, who actually kind of quite nicely complement each other through these next couple of double game weeks. But I could go Ramsdale / David De Gea, Foster, Trent Cancelo, Webster, Kilman, Livramento, Salah, Ramsey, De Bruyne, Fernandes, Bowen. So you could fit all three, and then you'd have a front three of Weghorst, Dennis, Ambrosia. So
I figured the forwards would be where you would have to scrimp because, of course, you have to have Alexander-Arnold and Cancelo, otherwise you just might as well give up.
Absolutely.
And actually, that's not bad. That's not a bad way to go because I mean, I'm looking at the moment in terms of how can I get Fernandes in for this game week, and it's doable. It just means probably selling Kane and probably Jota, but in terms of my replacements for Kane, it's like, for example, there's no one in the same price category that I'm that bothered by.
Agreed.
Who I was looking at, it was sort of like people like, in terms of players who are offering form and what price are they, for example, as forwards, you know, it's people like Alan St. Maximin, like 6.9. You know, players in that sort of bracket. I mean, Bamford's had some decent stats of late, for example, but the expensive forwards, I mean, they've been dead for a while, haven't they, in terms of as a price bracket. Like Kane has had patches of form, so has Ronaldo, but I don't think you need your squad to be structured around particularly expensive forwards. So maybe that's the key. But I mean, this dilemma we got in this couple of weeks. I mean, there's definitely advantages to going early on that wild card. I don't want to do it because I'm like you. I want to have as much information available to me for the cup stuff. But I remember last year, Andy, as in we're talking, let's talk FPL, Andy. He had a fantastic season. Anyway, he's having a good season anyway, and he did something he'd never done before, which was to use that second wild card, not as immediately when it was available, but around late January, early February, in that kind of like limbo period where the plugged in fantasy managers are just poised and waiting to use their wild card, and they kind of miss a few opportunities, a few bandwagons here and there in that little sort of like bit that bridges the gap between new wild cards available and game week 30 just after that double. That period is a kind of like, if you use your wild card, then you can actually make massive strides and make really big pushes based simply on what everyone else isn't doing. That makes sense. Like really your chips are most effective if you play them at a time when everyone else isn't playing them, because if you all play them at the same time, you're probably all going to have relatively similar squads. Therefore, the impact versus other people is lessened. And of course, in this game, you need things that have high impact versus other people because you want green arrows, you want to finish above them. So while I'm not going to do the whole wild card now, I reckon if you wild carded now and got yourself KDB, Salah and Fernandez, captain one of them this week, captain another one of them next week, I think you'd get huge green arrows out of that, because I think they're all three will do well. And you're going to be ahead of even the really invested, the managers who are really plugged in, really still trying to make these decisions, who are going with only two of them. You're going to outscore them. So I think that if you were thinking that and you were happy to do it, I think that could work out. I feel like I could say that even if I'm not going to do it myself.
No, it's true. I mean, I don't think anyone should be kind of knocking on anyone for playing the wild card, and I also don't think it should be the other way around either, that people should be putting pressure on other people to play wild cards. I mean, it's all very relative. I mean, if I can, on their door, be like, why haven't you played it yet? I mean, that's what it's like for us on Twitter sometimes, isn't it? People just send us for abuse for pretty much. Because I think this is a situation where you could end up wanting KDB or Bruno long term. So if you wild carded, you could get another game week or two out of them, probably one, because you'd probably want to move one of them onto Sun, I would have thought. But you get another game week's look on which one you'd say you'd want to keep. Say KDB does go great against Norwich, you're like, oh, I can't sell him now, or Bruno, for instance. I mean, I don't think either's fixtures, I mean, they do get a little tougher, but even City, Norwich, Tottenham, Everton, then Man United, Crystal Palace, Brighton, Burnley. So I mean, that's not terrible for De Bruyne. And then Bruno obviously has the double, and then he has Leeds and Watford after it, and then things get a little more difficult for him. So
he's a must-own right now, in my opinion, because if you wait too long, there's no point anymore, because that period is sort of so short. A double, then Leeds, then Watford, he's going to smash those, and then it's Man City, Spurs, Liverpool. So then you get rid of him for the Man City game. I don't know who you go back to then. I guess it would be, I mean, Spurs just kind of get a little bit nicer then. Maybe that's what you do. But I think people have to remember with these Man United players, you've got to get them now. You can't get them in a couple of weeks' time, otherwise you'll have missed the boat by then. So
yeah, absolutely. So just while we're here, and before we go to questions, your thoughts on Bruno versus Ronaldo, because I was obviously on the the other camp last time round for the double, so I actually owned Ronaldo for the double where Bruno popped off, and I soon kind of thought, oh, Bruno's back in form and Ronaldo's not so much, and he's missing games, so I switched them and put Bruno back in and sold Ronaldo. And of course, now I'm sat here going, I don't have Ronaldo and I'm really scared. He has a double game week. So yeah, what are we thinking? Because I'm assuming now he's had his rest, right? And he should play both of those matches. So if that's the case, is it just cut and dry Bruno over Ronaldo right now?
I think so. I'm just going to post something in the chat, if that's okay.
Yeah,
because
of course.
Funny enough that you asked me that question, I actually wrote an article on it today.
Oh, brilliant.
I'm just trying to paste that into the chat so that people can read it afterwards or while I'm talking. So for me, I think it's got to be Fernandes, just for a couple of reasons. Yes, okay, fine. Ronaldo's had a rest. But I look at the fixture run that they've got, and it's like it's really packed and really crowded for United. So between like now and what is it? Yeah, so between now and February the 26th, they've obviously just played Burnley on Tuesday. They've then got Southampton, Brighton, Leeds, Watford. There's 4 games between now and the 26th, and then they've got that last 16 game in the Champions League against Atletico Madrid, which is huge. And there's just no way he's going to not start that, for example. And so then between now and then, like, the manager has kind of very much been happy to bench him if he needs to.
Yeah.
You've got Cavani there as an option who, like, to be honest, like, I feel like you could probably argue actually benefits the team, like, better than Ronaldo. So, like, he's not going to be afraid of using Cavani for some of these games. And so then, let's be honest, Ronaldo may still play both at the doubles. But the point is, he's a lot more likely to not play both than Fernandes is. So 1-0 to Fernandes, in my opinion. Then when you look at, like, the form that the two players are in, Fernandes again is just miles clear. When you look at what he's done in the last 4 matches compared to Ronaldo, I mean, let's not forget Fernandes is still the highest scoring Man United player. Last 4 matches, 2 goals, 2 assists, 14 points in Gameweek 22. Well, or rather, technically, sorry, it's 23 points in Gameweek 22 because he played twice. But in his last 4, done really, really well. Ronaldo doesn't have his last attacking return was Gameweek 20. He hasn't scored more than 2 points in his last 5 matches. Of course, he missed one. So I feel like it's quite hard based on that to go Ronaldo over Fernandes. Let's also remember that Fernandes being a midfielder, more likely to benefit from things like clean sheets, which I think United increasingly look potentially capable of. I don't want to sit here and be like they look amazing because they don't. But De Gea is in particularly good form. Yeah. And so even if they concede chances, he is performing like a goalkeeper who can be the difference. Last 7 matches, he has 33 saves. 10 more than any goalkeeper in the league in that same period. So he is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. So the point is there could be a clean sheet and Fernandes will get the points for that and Ronaldo won't. In terms of the underlying stats then, they're closer than you'd think based on the fact that Fernandes has obliterated Ronaldo for points recently, but they still, in my opinion, if I didn't know how many points these two players had scored, I would still go for Fernandes based on these stats. So in the last 4 matches in terms of shots in the box, Ronaldo has 8. Fernandes only has 4, but when you look at the quality of those shots, Fernandes has 2 big chances, Ronaldo doesn't have any, and Fernandes has 4 shots on target, Ronaldo only has 2. So then his goal conversion rate, Fernandes is 20%, Ronaldo's is 0. Then Ronaldo's only created 3 chances, Fernandes has created 16.
Wow.
3 of those led to big chances, and none of Ronaldo's did. So he's basically in positions where he's being afforded higher quality chances to score. He's creating higher quality chances to assist. And so then when you look at his expected goal involvement for the last 4 matches, Fernandes is XGI every 197.3 minutes, and for Ronaldo it's every 360 minutes. So if you think of that, that's basically 1 attack in return for 4 matches if it's XGI every 360. Whereas Fernandes, my maths is terrible, but it's obviously more than 1. And so then Fernandes is just the obvious one. If you can only go 1, for me, it's got to be Fernandes. And like I said, just rolling it back up to the top, he's much more likely to play twice. So that's the way I'm going.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think I was very close to getting Ronaldo in last week instead of De Bruyne, and having the double up. Just that way I didn't need to worry in my brain about either of them. But yeah, I think if you had to choose one, it is tough, but I think the stats point towards Bruno, as you just pointed out, but it is going to be a bit of a personal preference on that one as well. I think as well as who you want to go on to next game week. So if you think you're more likely to want to go on to somebody like Son, then Bruno's going to be better. If you want to go on to somebody like Kane, then Ronaldo's going to be better. So, and obviously bear that in mind as well in terms of where you want to go with Salah as well. So I just wanted to ask you, based on my team on the planner, if I was to keep De Bruyne this week and not go for Salah, would you still do Dawson to Webster and have an extra double game week player?
Yes. Get rid of him. Like, he's a mug. Get him gone. I mean, he's not a mug. That's me. Craig, if you're watching this, I think you're not too bad. I have a lot of love for him from FPL and Football Manager. I signed him on one of my Football Manager games once and managed to qualify for the Champions League with West Brom.
Nice.
So I like him. I like the guy. But right now, he's not offering you much. And so then, yeah, if it got you an additional double game week defender, I mean, really, you're looking to get that clean sheet against Watford and just hope that United have a particularly turgid time,
Yeah.
which they are capable of. Like, they are still a work in progress. So Webster versus Dawson this week, I think, is a bit of a if you considering it. And,
I mean, I could go Dalot, but does he start both? Do I double up on United?
I mean, the thing is, United's fixtures are nicer in the immediate short term. I think in the next 4. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. I think tough. Webster's more okay. If you're going to base it on who's most likely to play, let's go with Webster. But Dallas not a bad option. We'll go with that. Definitely get rid of Dawson. Get him gone.
The thing is, the only thing with keeping Dawson this week and keeping KDB this week is that it's rolling a transfer and it gives me 2 transfers next week, and then I can mini wildcard or whatnot to get in as many double game week players as I want to. And I think that is that's the only kind of thought process with it, because I think if I get Webster this week for Dawson, then I'll only have 1 transfer next week, which then means that moving KDB and Bruno out for Salah and Son as I had planned will cost me a -4, and it then does mean that I am stuck with double Watford and Antonio up front. So that is the only kind of problem. It does sound
vomit-inducing, to be fair.
It really does. So not that I probably won't have those double Watford in the double. It would be nice to put them along somebody like Weghorst, who also has a double game week, and at least hopefully this time bank 2 points from each of them in each of their games and get 4 points rather.
And just don't captain him. Captain Dennis
go nowhere near them for captain. Don't worry, this is going to be on Salah, so possibly even triple captain. Right, let's head over to Twitter then and have a quick look at the Twitter teams. And if you just bear with me while I pull up the Twitter teams so that I can have a look at them. And I think his focuses, and yeah, it says he has 2 free transfers and 1.8 in the bank. What would we do? So it's Sanchez, Cash, Diaz, Lamptey, Rafinha, Bowen, Ramsey, De Bruyne, Antonio, Calvert-Lewin, Ronaldo, currently captain, Pickford, Mitchell, Gray, and Tierney on the bench.
So 2 free transfers, right? And 1.8 in the bank, was that right?
Yep.
Well, I mean, he's got to get Fernandes, hasn't he, somehow, for this game week.
Even though he's got Ronaldo?
He's got Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. He's got Ronaldo, so he's just going to have to go without. He's made his choice.
He's made his bed, which could be better than our bed, Hey ho.
He's just going to have to not talk about Bruno. Or go full Luca and be like, Silencio Bruno. That's going to be his weekend, because he's going to have a hard time not owning Fernandes, but fine, that's fine. You've got Ronaldo, so at least you're covered, I suppose, sort of, I guess.
Kind of.
In which case, kind of hard to say that you should get Salah, because then how do you do that? I'm a big fan of rolling when possible, so I mean, maybe just go like someone like Antonio. Like I'm thinking about Mope, because he's assisted in each of his last 3 starts. Then in his 4 matches before that, he scored 3 of them. So basically, he's got returns in I think 7 of his last 8, and he's got a double.
That's crazy.
So 1 of Calvert-Lewin to Antonio to Mope, and then just like save the other one, because the team's not bad. The team isn't bad. It's just missing, a couple of potentially highly owned people. So
yeah.
And like I said, I like rolling. I mean, there's so many doubles coming up. So many doubles that I would use 1, and then just keep holding it until you need to make some even bigger changes when you run into a double where you really aren't that well stocked, because obviously already he's got 2 Brighton and 1 United, so no harm in getting Mope, I think.
Yeah. Or you could go, myself kindly did a watch list this week, and our pick was McAllister, so maybe you could do Gray to McAllister.
Oh yeah, McAllister's a good shout as well.
In midfield for that extra double game week player. Otherwise, I'm a bit on David's side with this. You definitely want to carry the 2 transfers forward because you're going to want Salah back in your team, and I don't think 2.8. Well, you could go De Bruyne to Salah, but then you're probably going to want, you know, potentially Kane or Son, you know, moving forward as well. So you're going to want those extra transfers focus. So I think whatever you do, only do 1 transfer this week if you can help it, unless you're already going to get somebody like Salah in for moving forward, you know. But otherwise, I think definitely just use the 1, and I think maybe look at the coming weeks as well. I mean, I'd be tempted potentially to go Calvert-Lewin to Weghorst, even though he hasn't got a good fixture this week. He's got Liverpool, so I don't warrant him initially scoring or doing much this week. However, you would have him there then for the coming game weeks and the double ahead, and you haven't really used a transfer because the transfer would have been wasted anyway. And do we really feel like Calvert-Lewin is going to play? Probably not. So, you know, I would really think about kind of bolstering up your team now with that free transfer, but not going mad with the transfers unless it really kind of suits your plan going forward. And so I think either a double game week player this week in Gray to McAllister, or Calvert-Lewin to Mopay, or even going to Weghorst early so you have him for the coming double. But yeah, I think that's probably what I'd do. Nuclear, no, we didn't really have a you can send teams in, but you know, as myself and David kind of do Q&As, and Focus had kind of popped it on the tweet, we thought we'd have a little like chuck it in at the end sort of vibe. But we do have to think about wrapping up fairly soon. But I do want to give a shout out to Rubber Ducky. Yeah, David's got to go back to work. Do want to give a shout out to Rubber Ducky in the chat. I know he's wildcarding, and I think the last draft I've seen didn't have Salah in it. So in terms of me kind of thinking about whether or not to hit this week and get rid of De Bruyne for Salah, Rubber Ducky is actually wildcarding, and yeah.
That is brave.
That is brave.
It's so expensive as well. I mean, I'd love to see it work for him. I really would. I'm not saying it won't, but just to give my kind of opinion on what I would normally do in that situation is like, he's so expensive that when you're wildcarding, so you have the ability to do whatever you want. I would rather be in a situation where I have that most expensive player and then have the ability to sell him if he doesn't work than be the other way around. Completely restructure to not have him and then potentially have to do lots of surgery to get him back in.
Yeah. So hopefully Ducky doesn't mind me.
I won't be doing that.
Pulling up his team. He's got Sanchez, Robbo, Cancelo, Trent, Laporte, Son, Bowen, Fernandez, Ramsey, Brojan, Mopay, Pope, Kilman, Weghorst, and Saka last on his bench. And I'm assuming, Ducky, that you've left enough money in the bank to get Salah in for Bruno. Okay, yeah. So that's how he's...
Fair. Okay, as long as he's got a plan.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, as long as you got a plan, Ducky, quack, quack, you're all good. You are all good.
Yeah, he's quacked it.
Yes. Oh, we love the puns. We love the puns when David's in town. Absolutely. Right, guys, I'm gonna call it there and wrap us up. But thank you all so much for joining. If you have enjoyed the stream, then please do like and subscribe. I think we may have hampered ourselves a little bit today in our timing. So sorry if we were up against some of the big guns, but hopefully you guys can catch us on replay. Or you know, tweet out and let people know about the stream if they want to catch the replay, and we will be back with you next week. So it's a goodbye from me for now, and a goodbye from David.
I think so. I think I'll say goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Most of it, I was like, no, we're gonna do another hour.
No. Okay. Well, I mean, I'd be fine, but you would get sacked from work.
I would get in trouble, so yeah, yes. I should probably go back to work. But yeah, it's to confirm, it is a bye from me.
Okay then. All right, guys. Until next time, and in free out.
Spot.